Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For those who are just joining us, welcome to BMI's 16th Annual Leadership and Ethics Conference, where the theme is Leading with Integrity. For our conference participants, throughout the day, we've been learning a little bit about ourselves, our sense and meaning of integrity. We've assessed our own level of integrity, and we've been learning some methods to be very intentional about our ethical decision making. Over the last couple hours, we just completed an exercise that involved a hostage-taking scenario and figuring out what the most feasible, ethically grounded courses of action were to respond to that situation. You heard from experts in foreign policy, the military, the government, and humanitarian sectors to help frame your recommendations. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to put a human face on the situation by hearing from someone who was actually taken hostage by hostile terrorists. Now, before we get started and I introduce our guest, I'd like to thank Ms. Rosita Penny from the Marian Institute, who made all of this possible today and was able to bring our guest here on a very short timeline to meet with us and to share insight. So Rosita, as you do during the Israel Strategy and Policy Tour, thanks again on behalf of BMI for making this possible. Please give Rosita a hand. Now, we are very honored to have Ms. Moran Stella Yanai join us and share her insights, her feelings, and her thoughts about her experience. Ms. Yanai is an Israeli jewel designer and a survivor of the October 7th, 2023 Hamas attack on the Nova Music Festival. Moran was taken hostage and held for 54 days before being released on November 29, 2023, as part of the temporary ceasefire and prisoner exchange. Since her release, she's been a very powerful advocate for the remaining hostages and a compelling speaker on resilience and survival from unimaginable cruelty and violence. Now, as she continues to recover, Moran has summoned up the strength to tell her story and to grow from her pain. Moran has spoken at numerous events in Israel and internationally, and she has spoken here in the U.S. and is on a current tour to tell her story. She participated in 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, where she encouraged and honored women to share their story and as a way so that they can move forward as she continues to do. So ladies and gentlemen, up front, let's give a warm welcome to Ms. Moran. So Moran, thank you very much for taking the time to come and see us today and sharing your story, your testimony about what happened to you in Gaza and what's happening with you now. We know this is a very painful event, and so we're humbled that you would come and share this with us and help us understand how integrity and values helped you survive this cruel event. So I want to start out, Moran, because we've only had a little bit of time to talk. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what you were doing before all of this festival occurred?
Great, okay. So before October 7 occurred, till the age of 36, I found myself struggling in life. I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have a meaning. I didn't have nothing to get up in the morning to. And I didn't understand why I'm here, basically. But one morning, this voice in my head said that there must be a different way. And from this point on, I went on a journey to discover who am I as a person from the base, how I think, how I interpreted things, how I cope with things, what is my attitude, how do I speak to myself, how I think. And that was a long journey that was about 4 years of sitting down, gaining every tool I could think of to cope, to let me become that better version of my own that I am dreaming of. And right before October 7, I reached to that point. I finally became my best friend. I was about to fulfill my dream, about to get out to the world with me. I know who I am as a person. I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I'm a painter. I know that I have tools, I know that I want to help people, and this was supposed to be my big start. And so I was the most inspired, at the most best point physically, mentally, in every aspect you could think of.
Great. So on October 7th, you chose to go to the Nova Festival. Could you describe sort of the atmosphere of the festival and the events that led up to your capture?
So when I arrived to the point that I leave my house to the Nova Festival, I'm in my most spiritual part, but also very proud. This is happening. I didn't want to leave the house. I looked at my friend and said, let's stay home. She insisted to go to the car and that I'm excited and that's it, let's do it. When I arrived to the Nova, my focus was only on my shop. I didn't see the area. I didn't know that there is 2 dance floors. I didn't know that there is a tent area. I was focusing in my shop. And to be clear, this is my first festival going to. This is not my scene. I was trying a new thing. I'm not working on Friday and Saturday. I am religious in this part. I don't know how to explain how I got to that place, but you know, now I can say that was God's plan. I was supposed to be there. So during the night, I was very stressed. I couldn't understand what I'm feeling. I kept thinking of ways to go back home, and I was obligated to stay till the end. So when everybody danced the entire night, I was covered with fabric because I was freezing, and I was drinking tea. And I was just waited, just waited for this thing would be over. And by 6 a.m. in the morning, there was this beautiful sunrise that all of us are speaking about, because at that point, we saw the faces of the people. We saw the smiles, we saw the difference between all of them, different ages, different occupation, different nationalities, but at that point, it was the same frequency. Everybody was dancing for being happy, no judgment. And at that point, I was grateful. I said, you know what, nothing happened tonight. I didn't sell anything. Nobody came to my market. But I am grateful to be witnessing that this can happen. This community thing can happen. Maybe not in a festival, but it can happen. And that was my goal in life, to find those people that not judging each other, By 6:29, this whole dream shattered. 2 rockets in the sky, and that's how we started the journey of that morning.
So what happened after you heard these noises and the rockets, seeing the rockets in the sky? What did you think, and what went on after that?
So, first of all, we are good Israelis. 2 rockets in the sky, that's something. 4, that's also nothing. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then you say, what's going on? And then it didn't end it. Another 10 minutes, another 20 minutes, another 40 minutes. At some point, with thousands of rockets in the sky. And I served in the army 23 years ago. I know how to recognize all the sounds that I hear. I hear RPGs, I hear grenades, I hear automatic weapons. I know to tell the difference between an M16 and a Kalach, but I keep blocking it from my mind. It's not my story to tell. I had severe panic attacks, one after another. I was in anxiety and I couldn't really act. But my friend looked at me at some point, we against all other people, went back inside to the premises because we had our merchandise, we are vendors. So we stayed there till 5 to 8 in the morning. At that point, we were completely surrounded. And I keep blocking it from my head. But my friend looked at me, he said, when I give you the cue, you jump to the car, you drive as fast as possible. And I smiled to him. But then he gave me the cue. I had to jump to the car. But how to say, like we talked about, nobody taught us how to drive between screaming and falling people. Nobody taught us how to be hopeless in a situation that we don't have any tool to deal with. Nobody trained us. I served in the army 23 years ago. I was not be trained to be in that kind of situation. I'm a civilian. Then we start to run very fast. And I always say, I really put an effort for 5 hours. For 5 hours we would try to survive in any way possible. By running, by hiding, by catching a car of somebody, by driving again. But every turn we took, we were being ambushed, we shot at. And again, we really were very hopeless and we didn't accept the situation until we got the police over the phone. And they gave us the command to get off the cars, go hide in the trees. We were in the middle of a potato field, a 400 acre of nothing. But that's what they said, get off the car. We get off the car, we find one tree, 5 people, leaning on each other. You know, that's a situation that you really, really believe that the person is sitting next to you, he knows what to do. But then you look at everybody, you see the goosebumps, you see the shivery hairs, you understand really fast that I'm on my own, and I still don't understand the situation. Keep blocking it from my head. Till that point, it was just artillery sound. From this point on, we heard screaming in Arabic coming towards us. That's like snap to reality. And we got up, some of us kept on running, some of us just lay down, and we really, really believed that we are hiding. But it took me 1 second to understand that we were completely exposed, and another quiet second, and then I heard cuckoo. I raised my head up, I see a bunch of terrorists standing on top of that mountain, screaming, God is great, Allahu Akbar, running towards us. If until that point I was speaking about fear, anxiety, hopelessness, from that point on, my inner self, that soldier that I was 23 years ago, she jumped out. She acted for me. The terrorist was jumping after me, and the first thing that came out from my mouth is, don't kill me, I'm Arab, in Arabic. I had an Arabic necklace on my neck that I received, you know, as a present a month before, out of the blue. We in Israel don't wear Arabic necklaces, but something made me keep it, even when my mother told me to take it off. And that necklace saved me twice. I was caught 3 times eventually. At the first time, it was 2 Hamas terrorists. They took a TikTok video of me, and that's how my family discovered that I was caught. But I managed to be released from that situation. I use 5 words in Arabic. I just need to make you understand. I live in a coexisting city. My grandmother is Egyptian and my other grandmother is Moroccan. We used to speak Arabic in my house till I was 17. I am very much Jewish. But it's not a foreign language for us. It's something that we used to grow up next to. That's why we have difficulty to hear. We speak about, like how people speak about us in the world. We live with it 24/7. They're my neighbors, they're with me in the school, they're my colleagues at work. We are fine, you know. So it was not a foreign language for me. That's what helped me to use my entire manipulation and acting to get out from that situation. After that, I was caught by 10 Hamas terrorists. And the necklace was still on me. So I thought in my head, what helped me the first time must help me the second time. You don't have time really to think. You really need to choose an act really fast. And there is no gaps in between, and there is no room to make mistake. You just need to be very deep faith that what you choose is the right thing. And when they came, eventually I gave them that necklace as a present. At that point, I found myself again in that 400 acre potato field, and it was quiet again. And I thought it was done. And then I chose to do the one thing that we were not allowed to do on that day, which is screaming as loud as I could. And I don't know why, but I called to the IDF. I called to the army. When I look to my back, I see a mile away 13 Hamas terrorists, and I had the time to count them. I didn't see anybody else, it was just me. So when they came to me, it was no more talking, it was very much aggressive, it was very much violent. They dragged me from that tree by foot at the beginning. One of them realized I have tons of jewelry on me, I'm a jewelry designer, and he decided to rip it at once. So all the necklaces at once, and all the bracelets at once, and all the rings at once, and almost cut my fingers with it. And when he reached to my left hand, and I have it till today, he accidentally carved the first letter of God's name. Now I took many challenges before October 7th, but the last one of them, and it was written on my schedule, in that month that I was caught, was surrendering to the unknown. Trusting, putting a hand on my heart, that I'm committed enough to see the way, and He will show it to me. Now that's the challenge that I am being caught, and I'm thinking about it, like at that minute, you know. I have nothing to do, I cannot resist. I know that the minute I will resist, they will probably kill me at that spot. If I still have a chance to leave, then don't block it, don't resist, surrender. And that's what I did, I had to. At that point, they picked me up, and they started to throw me as a human ball from one to another, being punched in the way. But all I thought is, please, somebody will find me before they find a car. Again, I'm a soldier, I know the drill. But then they found a car, and we were 11 people inside that car. 10 Hamas terrorists and me. Again, I didn't see nobody else. I think that I'm in the most fierce point in my life, in the most anxiety attack that I could experience as a person. And now my worst fear ever is happening in front of my eyes. So I decided to close my eyes. I didn't want to see it. But the terrorist sitting next to me, and I called him the Joker, because his smile didn't end it. He forced me to open my eyes to see it. I saw 100% of civilians at the entrance to Gaza, from the smallest to the oldest. My worst case scenario is to be dead by lynch. And all I had in my head at that point is, please, praying, screaming, please give me one good hit to the head that I will not feel anything, and then take me, do whatever you want. But please don't let me feel it. And then the car stopped in the middle of that crowd. I was lying on the back seat with my legs towards the door, and when the door opened, they tried to pull my leg, and I resisted. And I felt the iron pipes go into my legs, and I tried to fold myself as much as I could, but eventually I had only my nails. I didn't really had no way to protect myself. I decided in my head really fast that I'm going to stick my hands on the terrorist, and if anybody will try to pull me again, I will use him as a human weight. And I probably hurt him, because he screamed, Khalas Shabab Arab. It means stop, it's an Arab child. Somebody closed the door, somebody jumped into the driver's seat. And I know it's very twisted to say, but I was saved from that situation. And I was counting my miracles that happened to me at that day, because I was saved so many times from a sure death. I was about to go to one of the death shelters with one of the officers, and I don't know why, but eventually I told her that I'm not going with her, and she was murdered half an hour after she left me. If it's two of my friends that wanted to hide under the bar, in the bar or under the stage, which is very good places to hide, I said, no, we have to leave this place. And everybody was killed on those two spots. I was counting the miracles that happened to me because there must be a reason that I keep surviving it. And from that point on, they just took me to the hospital, straight to the hospital, shoved me into a room, and then the journey in Gaza starts.
Could you describe in those first couple of weeks what was going through your mind as they rotated you to different places?
So you need to sum up really fast the physical part, because it was not the issue. This is not the thing that I had to deal with. I broke both of my legs. I had bruises and scars all over my body. I had tons of lices on my head, and not the amount that you can think of. Much, much more, and we had to sleep with it every single night, and I was allergic to every single one of them. I lost half of my hearing because of the bombing. Goes up and on every single day and night. There were so many things to deal with physically, and that was not the issue. So what helped me cope, if I need to sum up my entire captivity, that was my faith, that was my values, and mind over body. Pain came, many times, but there was not room for it, and I had to block it aside. Talking about values, I was supposed to protect myself. That's what I was taught. There was like an 18-year-old girl in the room. I said, thank you, my God, because she's here, I have to protect her. Because I have to protect her, I have to protect myself. That's my values. That was guiding me. And speaking about my faith, I think that every single moment, I was shown that something is sitting next to me guarding me. If I have to describe myself in a way that people can picture it, then I always say I was like one of those Jewish girls in the Holocaust, that they had to go and somehow make a relationship with the Germans to find more food, to find medicine, to discover information, anything that she could find to help her friends. And that's how I felt. That's like the mindset that I was put on at that point. I was trying to communicate with them. I was trying to gain medicines that we were sick a lot of time. Somebody coughed here in the room. We could have died from that. The lack of hygiene, so many things that you need to deal with. But eventually, it's mentally. Eventually, it's dealing with them every single day, threaten how to kill me, by pointing guns to my head, by saying that it will cut my head, by saying that it will throw me to the neighbors, or is it every single day that they came and say, nobody is looking for you. Nobody is searching for you. And even if there will be a ceasefire, you're not going home. Now there is another fact. When I was caught, I had the wrong choice of clothes. I chose to wear army uniform, pants, and I had army boots on me. The minute I got to the first investigator in the first house, he declared me as a soldier. Because I'm not young, now that's suspicious. After a week of investigation, they declared me as a Shabak soldier. I'm not married, I'm 40 years old. They didn't believe me that I'm 40 years old. Well, thank you. That's not the place. They even asked me if I want a medical care because I'm not married. But I had to fight the truth. And that's another thing to cope with, to survive with every single day. So eventually, I had to hold on to my faith. Eventually, I had to find this, opening channel. You cannot, like we spoke about, you cannot do physically without spiritually. You cannot fight a fight physically without the mental side, the spiritual side, the awareness side. And that's what I felt every single day. But I didn't let them break me. Because eventually, at the end of the day, when everybody went to sleep, and I covered myself to make sure that everybody's okay, I smiled to myself. That was the first place in my life that I was proud of myself. That I knew that I was daring, that I knew that I'm doing everything I can to survive. And at one point you also surrender. Because at one point you don't have nothing to change the situation, but to accept it. And there is this Schrödinger theory. I don't know if anybody heard about it, but it means that I'm alive and dead at the same time. I'm living those two realities at the same time. When you surrender into those two realities and you have nothing to control, then magic happens. Then you find yourself, I don't know how to say it, like you find strength in places you could not even think about. I lost 8 kilos from my weight. I don't know how to say it in pounds, but I was a skinny person. That's a lot. They were starting me every single day. Again, I said thank you when I woke up in the morning, because it's not obvious. Those bombs. Our window exploded, the next window exploded, but I was saved every single night and every single day. So I'm grateful. And it's not obvious that I survived half a day, because every time they heard something in the radio, it affected us. If it's positive, if it's negative, it's on me. One day they forgot us. They forgot us in the room for 18 hours. That means no bathroom. That means no drinking, no food, no complaining. You just need to sit down and wait and accept it. And then he said, but it's impossible, I had a surgery in my leg a year after I was released, and I felt like a hero, because in captivity I had my right leg broken. I didn't even know about the left one. I didn't have pills. I didn't have nobody to comfort me at night. When the terrorist decided to cut off that cast, he cut it off. My leg was completely black. He gave me a pair of heels. And then he told me, you're not allowed to limp and you're not allowed to fall. And then he made me to go down 6 floors by foot and walk for another hour and a half. I knew that if I would fall, he would leave me there and then I would be dead. Find a way to walk. That's mind over body. But that's also believing in the faith that he will give me the strength to do it. That's how, and that's what I had to cope with every single day.
That's a great story of inner strength and faith, Moran. But you were with other hostages, and could you talk a little bit about your relationship with those hostages? Seems like you might have been the leader there and helping them survive as well. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, the first 10 days, I had an 18-year-old girl. She was kidnapped from Be'eri, from the kibbutz. Her house was burning, and she decided to jump from the window because she decided it's much better to die by gunshot and not to be fired. She didn't know what happened to her family. She was a little girl. She was not the 18, responses. She was a little girl. And at the beginning, the first few days, we were not allowed to speak even. So I was trying to make a relationship just by looking at her, making her look into my eyes, because we had to sleep with the terrorists for 24/7. Eventually we found a way to talk without any, we can speak with one look and nobody will understand it. We have a relationship that nobody will ever understand. But at the end of the day, it's also a bargain sometimes. Sometimes I want to take care of myself, you know? But he put me here to guard her too. What do I do? What do I do when it's not matching my strategy? What do I do when I don't have enough faith? What do I do when I don't have enough power for the entire room? So we had to find a ways every single day, and we had a rule between us. Every time I fall, you must be stronger. Every time you fall, I have to be stronger. There is no possibility that we will not be balanced. We will always be each other's back. And you know, there were days, after 40 days, that you don't want to speak with that person anymore, you know? Again, there are rules. So if there is information, we share it at the same point, like immediately. Doesn't mean that we have to be friends. We are each other's family in every aspect you can think of. After 10 days, we made any manipulation you can think of, and they found her mother. When her mother came, it was another responsibility to me. And her mother, she didn't know how to handle the situation because she didn't know what happened to our other two daughters, husband, a mother. Her entire family was in the kibbutz that day. So I took the responsibility to me. We'll still keep on your daughter. Just please survive. So, you know, with everyone, it's a different relationship. And I can tell you that I was with those two girls for 49 days. And I managed to learn them in every aspect you can think of. I knew when she felt bad. I knew how to comfort her. I knew how to give her everything when we had nothing. You know, one day we had 20 milliliters of salty water, each one, for 2 days, budget. She is very used to drink water back home. She goes with her water bottle everywhere. I went to sleep. When I woke up, the first thing I see is her bottle, the water bottle is empty. But it was supposed to be budget for 2 days. I looked at her. She looked at me fearfully. She said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't handle it." But now what we do? Instead of 40 milliliters of water, now I have only 20 for both of us. You don't think, give me your bottle. You share the water. I told her, and I told myself, that we should drink just a half a cup every hour just to wet in the mouth, you know? Nobody taught us those strategies. But somehow, your inner self helps you survive the situation. And we survived another 2 days, you know, till we got the next budget of water. If you guys need to think it and need to picture it, I will go into the basics for a second. We can't flush water in the toilet, maybe once a week. We have a amount of water that we need to choose what to do with it every single day. Should we brush our teeth? Should we wash our hands? Should we wash our feet? What do we do with it? So I can tell you I washed my legs maybe 2 times for 54 days. There are so many things that you cannot even think of, that you cannot do anymore, including emotions. Every time I cried, I was severely punished. Every time I was staring at the wall, a terrorist ran into the room asking me, "What do you think of?" If I said, "I'm missing my mother," he said, "You're not allowed." Every fracture of humanity, they're trying to take out. And I need to find and keep my imagination mine and keep my heart mine. And as long that this is working and this is working, I'm fine. And you know, every single day I prayed to be saved. And every single day I already said thank you that I'm home, safe and sound. But one day I woke up, I said that prayer, and then I realized I have 2 broken legs, I have bruises and scars all over my body, I didn't move my hands for so long. I didn't walk for so long. I'm half broken. But then I said, yo, this is it. This is healthy. This is healthy. I'm fine. This is full. Continue to another day. And you know, it can break you. You know what broke me every single day? To open my eyes and to wait a minute, open my ear, and then you hear Arabic and not your own language. And then you take a deep breath. Good morning. Thank you for bringing my soul back. Let's try the day. It's a strategy. It's work.
So Moran, you did everything you possibly could to survive and take care of the other two women in the apartment with you. But the water's being raged around you. What did you think about when you heard all of that going on around you? Did that give you hope or some other emotion?
It was very confusing at the beginning because, again, as a soldier, I know that the Air Force now is bombing. They don't know where we are. And just trusting that there is a bubble above that house, because there were between 200 to 300 bombs goes every single night. And when the times that our window shattered, it was not from the IDF. It was from the Palestinians, for Gaza civilians, the Hamas terrorists, sorry, because they put us under missile launchers. And when they launched the missile, it sometimes broke the window. So we were under as a human shield, you know? I needed to experience our side and their side from the wrong side of the bomb. And when you realize that, that's it, you have no way. You know, in the beginning I was afraid. I was very, very afraid. And every time there was a bomb goes off, you know, I was shivering, clinging to the wall, in anxiety. But at one point I realized that it making the terrorists happy. So eventually, every time he heard a big bomb goes off, he ran to the room to see us clinging to each other and shivering and being scared. And I told Noga, the other hostage, I told her, you know what? The next bomb comes. I don't care. How big is it? I don't want your eyebrow to move. Nothing. I don't care how scared you are. Nothing. Control yourself. And that bomb came. And it was big. And when the terrorists entered the room, we just looked at him and smiled. And he was so confused. So we broke him that day. We took his toy, you know. That's how they treat us. As Barbie dolls, they used to dress us sometimes. They used to tell us what to do, to stand up, to sit down. But eventually you're not controlling me. You can't. As long as I will not give it to you. And I think that that's like their own private fight against me during this whole captivity, because they didn't know how to understand me as a human being. I'm 40 years old. I'm traveling all over the world. I'm a free spirit. I was a soldier. They don't know. They're not educated enough to know these type of women. So they always try to break me. That's the thing that I needed to deal with every single day.
So how did you learn that you were going to be exchanged? And did you really believe it?
Absolutely not. The first time they told me that I'm being released was day 49. They told me to put a costume on. They told the girls to put costumes on, and we are leaving the house. We went really, really long distance to the exchange point, and I felt, I was not happy. I didn't feel right, you know. At one point, the terrorist that was about to take us and the one that gives us, they start to fight. And one of the terrorists was held in my shirt from the back, and he was whispering in my ear, "Not you, not now." So I watched my two girls that I was with, protecting on for 49 days, being released back home, I was being dragged back into Gaza. And I needed to start all over again. And they pushed me into a abandoned house at the beginning, and then they moved me to another house. So they fooled me many times that I'm going to be released. And when eventually they came to say, "You're going home," I didn't believe it. I really thought that till the very second we will be lynched in the middle of the street. And I just waited to see that gate of crossing it and going home, because I was so afraid when I went to sleep that somebody will wake me up and said, "I'm sorry, we made a mistake, you need to go back." Till the very end. But there was one point that is very, very cherished to my heart. That part when we saw the Red Cross Jeep. And when we got on those Jeeps, I got the officer over the phone asking me what's the situation of everybody in the car. And after I said that everybody's okay, I'm injured, he said, "Okay, welcome back home, we're waiting for you." I hung up the phone, I looked to my back, and I see Gaza is going away, going away from me. And I watched that nobody's seeing. I remember I even blocked it with my hand. I was smiling. I said, "Thank you." Not only that I broke every limited thought in my head, I won myself in so many ways that was impossible in my head. And I made the all impossible very much possible because I chose to. I knew I had a purpose to go back home. I knew I had the purpose to spread after. I knew that I had a purpose to make sure that I'm doing everything I can, that this thing will not happen again in every country, in every place, all over the world. We're not the only ones. I need to make sure that people are getting up in the morning just to live, not to kill. But at that point I won. I was like the happiest person ever. I didn't have revenge, didn't have anger inside of me. I managed to cope with it every single day. I won.
I think you won too. You're a very strong woman.
Thank you.
We have time for a couple questions, ladies and gentlemen. So if you'll queue up next to one of the microphones in the aisle and wait for me to recognize you. Please.
Cadet Kilman from Norwich University. How is life now that you kind of had to live with the context of what has happened with you?
Nice to meet you, first of all. In my situation, it's a little bit weird. I can't even understand it till today because I was a hostage, but when I was released, I straight away went to speak and advocate for my friends. So I was doing it for almost 2 years. And knowing that I was on this side and also on the other side I feel like I'm a soldier, I'm in a war, I'm a soldier, and I have to do it, and I'll do it, and I'll do my best. And now we started to smell the end of this situation, so I'm only starting now to cope with real life and handle with things. So I can tell you that on one hand, if you put me in front of 40,000 people, easy, I'll speak. But if I'll go back to my kitchen and I need to prepare myself dinner, then it's a little bit harder. And I still need to cope with it. There are many things that can be a trigger, like noises, sights, smells, but I like to deal with it. I like to take them back into my house and to see them every day in my face and not to give them that power. So it's always going back to that terrorist to try to break me. If I didn't let him win, will I let this thing win? Will I let my own self lose in that fight? So it's coping, it's dealing, and then it's not letting anything control you. but it's also to make sure you feel all the feelings, all the rainbow of feelings. It's either sad and mad and happy at the same time. It's even frustrated and hopeful at the same time. That's okay. There is no right or wrong in this situation. This is how I cope with it.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Cadet Thorpe from BMI. My question for you is, obviously, things like this happen all the time, and your experience will unfortunately not be the last one in this world. And my question is, what advice could you give us, everyone in this room is a future leader who, some of us may have to also lead others and care for others in times of despair like you. What advice would you give for those of us when we face similar situations?
When you go and look at everything in life, including yourself, or everything you choose to build, you build in a pyramid, right? At the end of the pyramid, there is the cherry, and then you have the basics. So you can try to renovate the top of this pyramid times and times again, but if you not make the basics strong, it will not happen. So I can give you politics advice, and I can give you spiritual advice, and I can give you so many other advice, but my main tool is very kitsch. When I wake up in the morning, the first person I meet is my own self. So what extra value I give to myself at a day? When I start the day, okay, do I teach you something new today? Do I obligate for another new thing today? But I need to do something new today to give myself another extra to my values. And after I do that, after I commit to myself to become that better person, the person that I see in the mirror, it's very easy to maintain that energy and live with it to any place, to the neighbor, to your colleague, and even fighting. I was debating with a poor Palestinian guy, and happened only once because since then nobody wants to speak with me. But I was trying my best, making me and him private conversation, although it had 300 people in the crowd, but I shushed them because I wanted to hear him. I really want to learn and understand the other side. If I look at myself as a sharp businesswoman, that I'm not looking what to sell for you. I want to see what you need. So it's not seeing myself only, it's also seeing the other side. And even if it's like against my agenda, but I know I need to find the balance in it, will be compromises, But the first thing in this pyramid is what I do with myself. I know that it's much easier for me to be kind to any person I meet, till today. Even if I go with an Arab taxi driver, or if I see an Arab woman in my lecture, I will hug her. I will be nice. I know that I will try to respect my terrorists 24/7 because I know that this is how it works. That's the mirror. So I will start with the basics.
Thank you, ma'am.
Please.
Bring it down. Good afternoon, ma'am. Bianca Marlang from BMI. I'm really happy that you're able to be here with us today. I imagine it must have been difficult to talk about, especially due to the trauma that you've suffered. But from hearing you speak for the past hour and some change, I can tell that you're a really strong woman and a woman of faith. So I'm really curious, how do you maintain empathy and compassion for other people? Specifically, like you said, Arabs or Palestinians who are suffering under the same forces that once terrorized you. Especially when you can easily associate both because, under the same identity or appearance.
For them, I was a betrayal. For them, I was an Arab that betrayed her culture. But no matter how I'll turn this life, I don't want to hurt nobody. I was an activist because I was trying to help animals when nobody wanted to look at them. I was trying to help kids when nobody wanted to be their friends. And I think that if I need to go really deeply into it, then it started when I was 11. I was boycotted the first day at school. by 3 classes of 40 people each class. They boycotted me because I was taller, because I was skinnier, and because I was wearing the last year jeans. I was boycotted because how I looked at. They really punished me severely, and I almost committed suicide when I was 11. Since then, I will always see the stranger in the room. There is an Indian guru says that you cannot be taught how to. It's either you have it or not. And I think that as long as we are getting more aware to our own self, that's how you find compassion to other people. Even if you give me the terrorist that punched me in the face, I will never punch him back. I would rather him to go through what I went through, not physically, mentally. Maybe it will make him think a little bit deeper the next time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Please, next question, please.
Hello, ma'am. Cadet Hemstreet. So you said that before the events happened, you were trying to accept the unknown and accept that God has a plan for everyone. Were there ever a time, when you were there, where you were kind of doubting, or you were feigning, and then what kept you to just keep saying, yeah, yes, this is part of the plan, this is part of His plan?
There was one morning that I woke up and I couldn't even say a half word of a thank you. I looked up, I said, you know what, I still believe there is something above me, but I'm so angry today. And I wanted to ask all the why questions. Because, maybe you're up there, but why am I suffering down here? And I think that this is the sentence of surrendering to the unknown. Because there is things that I cannot control. And there are things that I cannot know in how they will end. I could have died. But as long as I know that I accomplished myself in that situation, then I somehow found peace in my head. And that's what helped me. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm Cadet Tristan Price from Virginia Tech. First, I'd like to say thank you. You have great strength. You're clearly extremely honorable, and I respect you a great deal for coming to speak to us today, and I hope today, someday I can be as strong as you are today. Obviously, you're very much a woman of faith that guided you through your whole time in captivity. Now, after going through all of that and having grown in the faith because of that, what are some of the things you do daily, weekly, to still keep the lessons that the Lord has given you and not forget what lessons He's taught you?
I'm still learning. I'm still learning 24/7. I still get to points that I'm frustrated. I'm still getting to points that I'm feeling pain more than I should. I still learn. But I know that in time I'm making the gaps smaller, and I know that in time I know how to cope with things better. But you need to understand that physically I'm still in rehab. Mentally, we didn't start it yet. So I don't have even a routine that I can say, this is what I do every single day. I know that the one thing I do is every time I get to that point of frustration, I take a deep breath. And I remind myself that there is much, much worse. So maybe now I'll get a different point of view, much more calmer point of view to deal with a new situation. It works. So I think it's one step at a time, and again, allowing myself to feel everything that they're out there.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Cadet Thomas Gannon from VMI, and I want to say thank you for your speech today. And it's very clear that you have given us extreme insight on your experience in Gaza. And what I'd like to know is, what kind of advice would you give to current and future leaders who were ignorant to this experience, or detached or uneducated from this experience, and use what you went through to further political agenda and political divide?
I'll not answer in a political way. I'll say this. As much as I don't want to come across, it's very hard to speak about it now because it's not over yet for me. So I don't have that aspect. But as much as I know that I don't want to come across with denial and I don't want to come across with ignorance, that I'm sure that the other side needs it too sometimes. And every time that there is two sides to the coin, you have to see it. Eventually I know I will have to find a way to look on the other side as well. Eventually I know I will have to look for ways to communicate with the other side. I don't want to make the gap bigger, I want to make it smaller. And obviously we have differences in our cultures, but it's all about education. So if I have to go on to a small point in the future that I see in my possible world, that the Gaza civilians are being educated much more than they are now. I don't know if you know, they have two books that they read. They read the Quran and they read the Minecraft. This is the two books that are the most read books in Gaza, and they are like very proud of it. And I will be easy, I will be calm when I know that they have right educators and right psychologists or mentors or whatever they need to. They don't know how to dream. So I don't know how much I expect from a person that don't know how to dream, that don't know how to imagine how a different country will look like, that don't know how to imagine a different situation in life. That's what he knows. So he's brainwashed. All I can do is give him some of my knowledge, but he has to choose to learn. So my advice is hear and be heard. The much that you give yourself, give to the other side. I can't say it now till all of my people are coming back home. When they do, I'll go back to be that peace seeker, I'm sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Last question, please.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Cadet Stephanie Cummings from Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets. I think I could speak for everyone that hearing your story is really moving from an audience perspective, and I'm really appreciative to hear your take on this. My question, it was actually answered in a different way a couple questions ago, more about the faith side, but I thought that your experience talking about your mind and body and listening to your heart and mind was really moving, and was wondering how that really impacted your recovery process and what tips you have in general about how to stay most connected to your mind and body.
Wow, that's a complicated question. It's not that I didn't feel pain, but every time pain came, like during captivity, you know that you don't have your safe place. You don't have time to deal with pain, but it comes. I used my, I had a lot of Buddhistic tools that I learned about pain. There are like meditation for pain. And eventually at the end of the day, we feel the pain. Before you get hit, you're already preparing yourself to be hit. When you get the heat, you scream. After the heat, you suffer. So we feel that pain. But if I remind myself that the pain is not here, it's not here, it's not here, maybe it's in a small part in here, then it's much more easier to cope. In real life, it's a little bit harder, because then you have all the options and it's comfortable. And then I use a lot of reversing, breathing, to try to bring myself back to the situation that I think straight and calm. But in my world, in my faith, it's just increased more and more and more. And it's all about open conversation. That's what I wanted to say to you before. It's allowed to be mad at God. It's allowed to be frustrated. As long as you keep this conversation going. Because eventually when you look for an answer, you'll find it. And that's how I see it.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Moran, this has been a fantastic interview. You definitely fall in the category of a morally courageous person in so many respects. A person of physical strength to survive what you did, and a person of great spiritual strength, even though I'm sure you did argue with the great Lord on many occasions. We want to thank you for coming and sharing your experience with us to get us to think how we can emulate being that morally courageous person in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's please give Moran
So much.